very, very important component to any strong and sustainable economy is manufacturing. And this is the thing that has been lacking in Africa, manufacturing. And I have heard many people speculated that the whole thing of Africa not having manufacturing base isn't just by accident, isn't just because Africans themselves don't want to manufacture. No, it is all by design by the Westerners. That it was all crafted by design. That the Westerners purposefully stop Africa from becoming a manufacturing hub. They did that on purpose. They just wanted Africa to export raw minerals and in return import finished product. They just want their manufacturing base in their home countries to be able to produce the products that Africans will consume. And that was why when they want to give loans to Africa, they have certain clause in it. They make certain arrangement, allegedly, so that Africa cannot station manufacturing plants in the continent. They will just export raw minerals and then buy finished product. And then sometimes the way they deal with the currency, they manipulate the currency in such a way that when you manufacture a thing in Africa, it's really, really costly than importing it from outside. For example, Nigeria used to be a huge manufacturing base. They used to do like a lot. When I was growing up back then in those days, we used to have what we call made in Aba. Yeah. So we used to have a lot of stuff made in Aba. Aba was I think the state was very huge when it comes to manufacturing. They did a lot. But over the years, that has slowly died off. And everything we consume, every single thing, is either made in the West or in China or in Japan. In fact, 4 of every 5 things you use every day will be made in China. So, how can we even sustain our economy if we cannot manufacture any single thing? Even companies that were there to help the people, they've all closed down because they cannot meet up with the manufacturing cost. They can't meet up. When they manufacture products and put them in the market, people who import from abroad will be selling at a lower cost than those who imported, than those who manufacture it in Africa. So how can you compete? How can you compete? And that has been the problem. So in order for Africa to really, really develop, manufacturing must be brought to the continent. It must be brought to the continent. We must start manufacturing things in Africa and export those things to other continents around the world. We must do that. How can you explain this to yourself? That Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire are the highest producers of cocoa in the world. But they don't eat chocolate made in Ghana. They sell cocoa to Western countries and in return import chocolate. How can you explain that to yourself? How come? How come? Nigeria, which is the number 1 crude oil producer in Africa, will sell crude oil to Western countries, to other refineries around the world, and in return, import petroleum products. Does that make any sense to you? Does that make any sense to you? Without manufacturing, you are cutting off a lot of jobs for people. And these jobs you are cutting off will impact the economy of the area very, very severely. Because let's say, for example, right, you export crude oil, the government makes money from it. Civil servants are able to pay themselves from it. And maybe politicians might even embezzle some and they use it to fund their luxurious trip abroad. What about the masses? What about them? Because if we have a manufacturing plant in Africa, let's say, take example Nigeria, there is refineries in Nigeria to refine the crude oil. Do you know how many jobs that will create? And those people who earn wages or monthly salaries from those jobs created by manufacturing will then go on to pay taxes to the government, and the government will use these taxes to build social facilities for the people like roads, hospitals, and education. That is how it's supposed to be. But to Africa, that is too much to ask. That is just too much to ask. That is just too much to ask.